Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Have you ever argued with someone so irrational, so blindly confident, that it made you question reality itself? Not ignorance, not lack of intelligence. I'm talking about something far more dangerous: stupidity, weaponized, proud, unshakable. Now, here's the part that will haunt you. According to Dietrich Bonhoeffer, stupidity isn't just a personal flaw. It's a social disease. And in certain conditions, it spreads like a virus that blinds people, turns them into parrots, makes them feel righteous while destroying everything around them. And you're not immune. None of us are. This is what Bonhoeffer discovered while resisting the Nazis. And what he wrote should terrify us all today. Let's uncover the theory of stupidity you were never meant to hear. Here's the first myth we have to destroy. Stupid people are just dumb. Wrong. Bonhoeffer made a chilling observation in Nazi Germany. Some of the most well-educated, socially respected, intelligent people became the most dangerously stupid. Why? Because true stupidity, he said, has nothing to do with brain power. It has everything to do with how a person relates to power. Stupidity is a more dangerous enemy of the good than malice. Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Let that sink in. You can see a malicious person coming. You can argue with them. But the truly stupid person, they believe they're right. They feel they're good. They'll shout slogans, repeat headlines, parrot authority, without thought, without question, without shame. You can't reason with them because they've surrendered their thinking to someone else. And here's the terrifying part. That could be you or me in the wrong environment. So, how does it happen? Bonhoeffer observed that when people become part of a movement, when they feel protected by a group or ideology, they stop thinking critically. They stop being individuals, and they become functionaries of the herd. This stupidity, Bonhoeffer says, isn't passive, it's active. It fights against facts. It attacks nuance. It feels intelligent, but it's just loud obedience. And it grows fastest where people feel safe in their collective identity. Political mobs, religious cults, nationalist movements, online echo chambers. So here's your first practical takeaway. If everyone around you agrees, be suspicious. True thought happens in friction, not applause. Let's be brutally honest. Evil is rarely carried out by evil people. It's not the villain in the dark room twirling his mustache. It's not the dictator alone on the stage. It's the crowd. It's the silence. It's the obedient, the blind, the indifferent. This was Bonhoeffer's terrifying realization while watching Germany crumble into moral collapse. He wasn't just fighting Hitler, he was fighting the mass stupidity that made Hitler possible. You see, true evil doesn't want smart followers, it wants comfortable ones. People too proud to question, too scared to think, too loyal to doubt their tribe. And here's where it gets even darker. Malice needs stupidity, the way fire needs oxygen. Stupidity becomes a shield that evil hides behind. It allows evil to march forward, not as something horrifying, but as something normal, acceptable, even righteous. Because once stupidity grabs hold, facts become threats. Thinking becomes betrayal. And evil, real evil, starts wearing the face of patriotism, faith, and progress. Bonhoeffer saw it happen firsthand. The rise of Nazism wasn't powered by monsters. It was powered by neighbors, teachers, shopkeepers, pastors. Ordinary people who had simply turned off their minds, not because they were bad, but because they felt safe. Because groupthink is warm. Because repeating what everyone else says is easier than risking being wrong or being alone. He wrote that stupidity is not an intellectual defect, but a moral one, and that should send shivers down your spine. Because stupidity in this form is chosen subtly, silently, through inaction, by letting others do your thinking for you, by letting safety become more important than truth. So here's the question Bonhoeffer forces us to ask ourselves. Where in your life have you stopped thinking? What truths do you believe just because the people around you say them? Are your ideas your own, or inherited, downloaded, repeated? And most importantly, would you know if you were being stupid? Because if evil ever returns in your lifetime, and it will not come dressed in obvious evil, it will look like something you're expected to agree with. It will feel normal. And the truly dangerous part, you'll probably cheer for it. Here's the most disturbing truth Bonhoeffer forces us to face. Stupidity isn't loud because it knows. It's loud because it doesn't want to know. Bonhoeffer describes the stupid person as not independent, but a vessel, filled not with thought, but with borrowed certainty. This person doesn't act from understanding, but from reaction. Their opinions are not conclusions, they're downloads. They confuse agreement with insight. They confuse volume with truth. They confuse belief with thinking. So, how do you recognize this mind, especially when it's hiding behind education, confidence, or authority? Bonhoeffer's warning signs of the stupid mind. 1. They reject dialogue, ask them a question, and they repeat slogans. Press them further and they get angry, not because they know something you don't, but because you've challenged their borrowed truth. 2. They defend what they haven't examined. Their convictions are inherited, not earned. They believe something not because they've thought it through, but because someone else did the thinking for them. 3. They fear complexity. Nuance terrifies them. Why? Because they crave absolutes. They want the world to be black or white, hero or villain, right or wrong. Complexity requires thought. Stupidity runs from it. 4. They trust power over wisdom. If someone is in charge, they must be right. If an idea is popular, it must be true. The stupid mind doesn't think critically about who is speaking. It simply obeys the voice that sounds the loudest or feels the safest. Now, here's the chilling twist. This isn't just about other people. This is about you and me. Because Bonhoeffer's insight isn't a weapon to attack others, it's a mirror to hold up to ourselves. Think about it. When was the last time you changed your mind about something important? Not because it was convenient, not because it was trendy, but because you challenged yourself, because you let discomfort in, because you chose the harder path, to think. If that hasn't happened in a while, you may not be as immune to stupidity as you think. Practical insight. Bonhoeffer believed stupidity grows in isolation from truth and connection. It thrives when we stop asking questions. So the antidote isn't just more information. It's intellectual courage. Be curious, be skeptical, be willing to be wrong. And above all, never outsource your mind to the crowd. Because once you do, you stop being a person. You become an instrument, and someone else will play the music. The music. Here's a truth that might offend your pride. Your intelligence is not your immunity. Bonhoeffer observed this with brutal clarity. He saw lawyers, doctors, professors, brilliant minds fall under the spell of stupidity. They weren't lacking IQ. They were lacking integrity. This is where most people get it wrong. We think stupidity is about how smart someone is, but Bonhoeffer flips that idea completely. Stupidity is not an intellectual defect, but a human one. So, what does that mean? It means that you can be highly educated, logical, well-spoken, and still become mentally enslaved if you stop using your intelligence in service of truth. Because here's the secret. Intelligence is just a tool. And tools are neutral. They can build, or they can destroy. It depends on what and who they're being used for. If your intelligence is being used to protect your ego, to justify your tribe, to rationalize your fear, to avoid questioning authority, then you've weaponized it against yourself. You've become the most dangerous kind of fool, the clever one, the one who argues not to find truth, but to win, the one who defends systems without understanding them, because those systems reward their comfort. Here's the disturbing paradox Bonhoeffer reveals. The smarter you are, the better you are at deceiving yourself. If you lack the courage to face the truth. That's why Bonhoeffer didn't preach intellectualism. He didn't tell people to be smarter. He told them to be morally awake. What does that mean? It means choosing truth over comfort, conscience over convenience. It means saying, I don't know, when everyone else is screaming certainty. It means thinking for yourself, even when it costs you. Ask yourself, are you using your intelligence to explore truth or to defend what you already believe? Are your arguments serving wisdom or your image? When's the last time you admitted you were wrong and actually felt stronger for it? Bonhoeffer would say that's not weakness, that's strength. Because only the truly free mind can say, I want the truth, even if it changes me. That's what intelligence was always meant for. Not pride, not manipulation, but liberation. By the time Bonhoeffer was imprisoned, he had lost almost everything: his position, his freedom, his safety. But he had not lost his mind, and most importantly, he had not lost his clarity. In his final writings from prison, Bonhoeffer left us something most people miss, not just a diagnosis of stupidity, but a path out. Because here's the final paradox. You can't argue stupidity away. You can't fix it with logic. You can't slap someone awake with facts. So what do? Bonhoeffer gives us a devastating but freeing answer. The only way to overcome stupidity is through an act of liberation, not instruction. Let that sink in. He believed that stupidity is rooted in a loss of selfhood, a kind of inner surrender. People become stupid when they give up their independence in exchange for safety, identity, or belonging. They don't need more knowledge. They need to reclaim themselves. And that only happens when people are pulled out of the herd, out of propaganda, out of the mob mentality, and invited to become human again. So what's the cure? It's not easy, it's not fast, but it's powerful. 1. Live in truth, even when it hurts. Not comfort, not popularity, not tribe, not speak it, seek it, lose sleep over it, be transformed by it, even when no one else around you does. 2. Refuse borrowed certainty. If you didn't arrive at a belief through your own thinking, question it. Don't mistake volume for validity. Don't inherit dogma as identity. 3. Stand alone if necessary. Bonhoeffer stood when others bowed. He chose death over complicity. Most of us will never face that choice, but we face its smaller version every day. Will you betray your mind to fit in? Or will you stand quietly, courageously, alone if needed? 4. Create spaces where others can think freely. If stupidity spreads through crowds, courage must spread through relationships, through silence, through questions, through refusing to mock, to shame, to scream. Because the cure isn't noise, it's consciousness, the restoration of individual thought, the rebirth of conscience. Final words, Bonhoeffer's theory of stupidity is haunting because it forces us to stop pointing fingers and start looking in the mirror. We are all susceptible, but we are also all capable of waking up, of standing up, of thinking for ourselves, and becoming the kind of person evil cannot control. So if the world is ever dark again, and it will be, don't be smart, be brave, because when the slogans are loud and the crowds are full and the lies feel good, the last free human mind will be the most powerful resistance of all.